Alright, I just wanted you to be able to check your answers on number 12-63. So here's all the answers there. The ones that have sine in them, I would expect either you would look at the graph that you just made for the original graph of sine and find those values. So one is the height 1/2, and you found the decimal version of this, but you also could do drawing a unit circle and drawing the right triangles, and then you could figure out the exact values with pi in them. So that's what I would expect of us to do with the sine. The ones with cosecant, we have to just kind of look at the graph on those, and that's why I wrote some of them were approximately the same as that. But if it says, what do you notice about each of these? A and B, the outputs, the answers are exactly the same. C and D the same, and E and F are the same. So what do you notice about those equations? So for example, the E and F one, sine and cosecant, we've explained that those are reciprocals of each other. So cosecant of x is the same as 1 over sine of x. That's what you did in the table. That was the same thing as, that's called cosecant. And if you notice in the other side of the equation, these are also reciprocals of each other. So it's really like you just flipped over, this equation. If I were to maybe over here, sine of x over 1 equals radical 3 over 2. All you did to get this f equation is really just flip both of these sides upside down, because then it would be 1 over sine of x, which is the same thing as cosecant. And then we flip this upside down. So that's why we're getting the same values, because you're basically just taking the reciprocal of each side of this and you get these same exact equations. So that's why that's happening. So is there an inverse cosecant button on the calculator? Inspire or 84 calculators. There is no inverse button. And the good thing is, if there was an inverse button, to solve this type of equation, we would do inverse cosecant. Oops, forgot what letters I was writing. Inverse cosecant of 3.5 equals x, and then we would just type it in and be done. But there isn't an inverse cosecant button. There is only an inverse sine. Let me just get my calculator out. There's only an inverse sine button here, cosine and tangent, so no cosecant inverse button. And again, that would be helpful, but we can still do it without that. So what we can do is change cosecant to be 1 over sine of x, because those mean the same exact thing. 3.5. Okay? So 1 over sine of x is the same thing as cosecant. Move this up a little bit. Okay, so now to solve this, let's cross multiply. So sine of x times 3.5 will be 3.5 and then times sine of x. And that will equal 1, because it's really like this is over 1 too if you cross multiply like that. And then to solve it, we're going to divide each side by 3.5. Okay, and so we have sine of x equals 1 over 3.5. And then in this case, we want to get a value for x. So now we can do inverse sine of that 1 over 3.5, because there is an inverse button on the calculator. So we want to make sure that you're in degrees. This one is, yes. So we're going to inverse sine of 1 divided by 3.5, and that'll tell us our value, or basically the degree that would make this cosecant be worth 3.5. So that's going to be 16.6 degrees roughly, for rounding that to the nearest tenths place. So that's how we can use that. We're going to change everything. If we ever see a cosecant, we're going to change it always into 1 over sine, or change it into terms of sine, because then we can use our calculator to help us solve some things instead of graphing it all the time. Okay, so go ahead and look back at that Google Doc and continue the rest of the way, and I hope this was helpful.